Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Our Old Farmhouse. I'm sitting outside today with, I can't remember this cat's name, it's one that Atlas found. Um, but while I was sitting out here, I really was thinking about a question that I thought might be a good idea to make a video about. And that was, if I could go back in time 5 years ago, back to when I purchased my property, would I do anything different? And if I would, how would that impact what I have going on today? So with that said, I do apologize about the camera shaking. That's a cat that's kind of running up against the tripod here. But yes, I think if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, there are certainly things that I would do differently that would have pretty significant impacts on what I have today. Now, homesteading is a hobby, and that does upset some people when I say that. It can be more than a hobby and a lifestyle, but it is still a hobby. And with any hobby, most people will tell you not to jump in and go overboard with, sorry, this cat, but not to go overboard with how much you're investing into it and really what your goals are. And I think with homesteading, that's a lot different. And this cat, my gosh, guys, I think it's really different when it comes to homesteading. When you are talking about growing your own food, when you're talking about really changing your lifestyle, this is a big change. And you have to be willing to make that investment both in time and money. So behind me, I planted fruit trees about 3 years ago, I want to say, maybe a little longer than that. And if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, that would have certainly been one of the first things that I'd done. Now, with it comes to homesteading or really kind of any property management, and homesteading is also property management, you have to understand that it takes a very long time for some aspects to really become beneficial. And trees and sometimes livestock, those could be two more long-term investments. So when I purchased the property, my plan was to have fruit trees that ran across the road here. And over time, those would grow up, kind of block out this road that's over to my side. And then we would have fruit. So we planted peach trees and cherry trees. And we planted some apple trees kind of throughout our property to help bring bees in and help pollinate our plants. But really, they take a long time to grow, and I think if I would have got those planted 2 or 3 years earlier, I would be in a much better place than I am today. We had one year where they were kind of hit pretty bad by beetles, and that really stunted their growth quite a bit. Last year they did okay. We didn't have any issues with beetles last year, but this year they're already starting to develop some blossoms on it. And as I've said in many of our videos, it is extremely crazy with weather this year. We've had most days where it has been well below freezing. Today it was 51 degrees as the high, but it was 21 or 22, I can't remember, degrees as the low. So that's some pretty big temperature swings. And if that happens, once those blossoms start opening up, that's probably going to result in no fruit on any of those trees this year. And just as evidence, I've gotten peaches off those trees in past years. So really, it's very weather dependent this year, and that's a big factor that's scaring me. Now, also, if I had a time machine and I could go back in time, there are some things that I wouldn't have purchased. I did purchase a greenhouse from Walmart online, and it was the same greenhouse that's sold at Harbor Freight. And really, when I purchased it, I got it, I think, for like $50. They sent it to me as a partnership to kind of try it out. So it really wasn't an investment on my end, but it was just garbage. I'm going to be honest. At first, when I got it together, I had high hopes. I made several videos on it, but it just didn't work out. So if I could go back in time, I would have loved to invested something a little bit more permanent than what that was. We later on built a hoop house. Sometimes It looks a little rough, especially in the winter months when everything's kind of dead inside of it. But in the summer, it works very, very well, and it's very practical, and it was very inexpensive. So I do have to fix the door on it. That's kind of slowly been breaking, and I've been kind of jerry-rigging it, but I do have to permanently fix it here in the next week or two. But it's worked extremely well, and I'm extremely glad to have it. So again, if I had a time machine, I would have gone back, not done the greenhouse, and I would have definitely built the hoop house. Next, when it comes to animals, I really wish that first year I would have got bees. It was, I think, our third year that we got a beehive. We got it out here, and that was the best year for our garden. And I know it was because those bees were pollinating our plants, and really it was just back on the back side of our property. I remember one time when I was out here mowing, I looked over and there was this just huge swarm of bees that came out. I've never seen so many bees in my life. They swarmed around in a frenzy right above the beehive for a few minutes, and then they settled down, and it was enough to scare me for a minute, but they never bothered me, never got stung by any of them, and it was a fun experience having them. But unfortunately, about a year and a half after having them, some stray dogs came over and they destroyed the beehive. And when that happened, we were actually on vacation and we were gone for about a week. And when we got back, we discovered it was destroyed. And at that point, the hive, they were gone. I mean, most of them remained behind, but without the queen, they just died. So that's something that I wish I would have invested in earlier, and it's something that I would like to invest in again in the future. I don't know if this year is going to be that year, but hopefully next year, if it's not this year. Other than that, we did have some trees that came down. I have a lot of branches and cut wood off to the side of our property. That is something that I wish I would have started using last year to heat our hoop house. So if I could go back in time using the materials here on our homestead, I wish I would have been able to use them in a little bit more efficiently than what I had previously. We have to understand that a lot of times, most of us still have a full-time job. I know some homesteaders who are retired, and I'm jealous of them. But with a full-time job, a lot of times it's easier to just go purchase something, but that really negates the progress that we're making here on our homestead, or our goals here on our homestead. So this is really truly an honest video, but I really wish that I would have been able to use those materials a little bit better, especially when it comes to heating the hoop house. I do have a wood burning stove to put in it. I plan on getting it in there this spring, and I'm planning on using that wood this year to help heat that and to make sure that I can get those plants in, especially with how odd the weather has been. But with that said, those are a couple of the major things that I wish I could have gone back and redone. And with that said, I appreciate you guys for checking out your video, or my video. If you do have a question or any kind of comment, please leave it down below. And I'd love to hear, if you could go back in time, what's something you would change on your homestead? With that said, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.